Hey guys, just giving me my thoughts on She-Hulk Attorney at Law Episode 3. I feel the series is improving overall, and I think a part of that is they're leaning more into the superhuman law aspect of this and the legal aspect of what's going on in this series, and less away. They've gotten past all the origins. I really like how they're showing how having superheroes in your world would make things different or more complicated legally or as a lawyer. So, for example, there's a parole meeting for the Abomination, Emil Blonsky. Well, what happens, how does all the different superhero aspects affect that? Like him being taken out of his jail cell magically by Wong, and or him trying to show that he's in control of the Abomination by turning into the Abomination in front of the parole board. So seeing those things, I really like that. I like that we are seeing the effects of being a superhuman in this world. Same thing when they had the B-plot of a character who thought he was dating Megan Thee Stallion, a celebrity, right? And so it's actually a shapeshifter. And how does that affect things? So these are things that where either the superhuman aspect complicates things, or they're just issues you would not even run into if there were not superpowers in the world. I really like that, and I hope that they push into that in the future. Maybe I would like to see even more complicated lawyer, scenes. It still felt a little bit simplistic. But I'd like to see something that goes, very more intellectual and applying legalities or whatever. I don't even know how to phrase that, but hopefully you know what I mean, where it's not just sort of a skimming over of the legalities, but getting really in depth to it, which will be hard to do because these seem to be shorter episodes. But overall, I am liking it more. There were a few issues. For some reason, I noticed the CGI being a little less well done this episode. And I don't know if that was just me noticing it for the first time or what, but there were certain episodes that felt kind of, less realistic or more stiff. That could just be me finally noticing what other people have noticed all along. I didn't like for whatever reason, the end credits scene was Megan Thee Stallion coming and visiting She-Hulk, Jennifer Walters, at the law firm, and it's them twerking to music, and that's just that was dumb. So that's all I can say about that. And the other kind of the bigger issue is that the Wrecking Crew from the comic books, they show up at the end here for a short fight. Emphasis on short fight. Now, like I said, I want things to be more intellectual, but that doesn't mean every fight has to be super short. And it's not really the shortness of it. It's that they took the Wrecking Crew, who in the comic books are, they're silly. They have construction tools for their weapons that have been enchanted. So they're kind of silly, but they are a formidable threat under the right conditions when they work as a team. And in this particular instance, they were dispatched by She-Hulk very quickly, very similar to how she dispatched Titania in the first episode. And I don't feel like She-Hulk has that big of a rogues gallery where you can keep going through these villains so quickly that you're making them all basically jokes. It's okay to turn some of them into jokes, but you've got to have some big threat arch enemies. And I just kind of feel like she is going through all of them so quickly. And these characters who, they may be a little silly, but they should be a threat, are not showing up as huge threats to She-Hulk. It kind of reminds me of the early days of superhero movies, like you had where they'd kill off all the villains or something. So, for example, in the first Batman Michael Keaton movie, I think they killed off the Joker by throwing him, he fell from some height, from a clock tower or something. And it's just like, okay, but he has a lot more story to him to just kill him off that way, right? Well, these characters have a lot more story than just these villains, especially when you don't have as many options with her. I feel like you should be giving these villains a little more of a threat level to her. She could have still escaped like she did in this episode, but make it a little bit harder. Make her work for it, not just, have no trouble at all with either of the Wrecking Crew or Titania. So that worries me a little bit. especially if they're planning to do this for more than one season. Maybe they're thinking, hey, we're just going to do our few episodes and not revisit them. But even just the idea of not having access to characters like Titania or the Wrecking Crew as a real threat in the future in other MCU movies and shows, I just wish they weren't throwing these characters away as jokes or as underpowered. So not a big deal, but I tend to think long term on these things. I'm wondering if you can't just go through all your villains so quickly. But it's overall, I think it's improving. I'd probably give this one about an 8. I'm enjoying it. I'm going to stick it out. Let me know what you think, and I will catch you guys later.